Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. The first face-to-face talks in over a fortnight have been held between Ukraine and Russia with the hope of finding enough common ground for a ceasefire. President of the host nation for the meetings, Turkey's Recep Tayyip Erdogan, said both Ukraine's Zelensky and Russia's Putin were valuable friends as he set the scene for talks in Istanbul. He said progress at the talks would pave the way for the leaders to meet and that Turkey could host that too. Meanwhile, the Russian billionaire Roman Abramovich appeared at those peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in Turkey. It comes hours after reports surfaced that Mr. Abramovich and 2 Ukrainian negotiators had shown poisoning symptoms after talks in early March. The Chelsea Football Club owner was said to have suffered sore eyes and peeling skin, but had now recovered. During an interview, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba advised anyone going to the negotiations not to eat or drink anything and preferably avoid touching any surfaces. The Kremlin has dismissed the reports, calling them disinformation. Meanwhile, the charity Amnesty International has been documenting attacks against civilians in Ukraine with the targeting by Russian forces of hospitals and schools. The rights group released its annual report today. Towns such as Mariupol have been almost completely destroyed. Here, drone footage showing destroyed and damaged houses in an area close to the city centre. Meanwhile, here, surveillance footage shows the moment a Russian rocket hits an administrative building in Mykolaiv, and this is the result. At least 3 people were killed and at least 22 injured in this attack. The charity's director for Eastern Europe said Russia was repeating siege techniques used in the wars in Syria and Chechnya. Thousands of Syrians have protested in Idlib to mark the 11th anniversary of the start of the war, which since 2011 has killed hundreds of thousands of people and displaced millions. Protesters held banners and waved Syrian flags calling for the release of political prisoners. Syrian prisons are said to hold tens of thousands of detainees, many of whom were arbitrarily detained for participating in peaceful protests or for expressing dissenting political opinion. The UN has voiced concern over the deteriorating security situation in Ituri province in northeastern Democratic Republic of Congo. An estimated 400 civilians have been killed in the region and more than 83,000 people have fled their homes since the 1st of January because of the violence. That's according to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs. The violence has forced aid agencies to either delay, suspend or relocate operations.
Recurring incidents of dead.
The United Nations said 1.9 million people were displaced within Ituri and some 3 million others were severely food insecure. Pakistan's parliament has taken up a no-confidence motion moved by opposition lawmakers in a bid to remove Prime Minister Imran Khan. The House will begin a debate on the motion on Thursday and a vote is to be held within 7 days. The move comes as Pakistan faces a recurring economic crisis.
And by next year,
the 69-year-old, a former captain of Pakistan's national cricket team, lost a parliamentary majority with a series of defections from his party, and united opposition is calling on him to step down. In the UK, 20 fines will be issued as part of the police inquiry into Downing Street parties that breached COVID rules.
Mr. Speaker, we condemn the...
Downing Street has said it would say if the Prime Minister is among the recipients of the fines. Reports of gatherings during lockdown prompted public anger and several Conservative MPs called for Boris Johnson to resign. Mr. Johnson had previously insisted that guidelines were followed at all times. And Britain's Queen Elizabeth has made her first public appearance in 5 months to attend a service of thanksgiving for Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh. Prince Andrew, who has been the subject of controversy in recent years, helped his mother down the aisle. The ceremony was a much bigger service than his funeral, with Prince Charles, his son William and wife Kate, and other members of the royal family all in attendance in Westminster Abbey. The Duke of Edinburgh passed away at Windsor Castle in April, 2 months short of his 100th birthday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.